Glad to be here. First and foremost, just proud of our guys, how they practiced so far this week, coming off a heartbreaking loss. Good work yesterday, good work today. Looking forward to getting back in Williams-Brice this Saturday night. Any questions?
Clayton, you guys used mostly the four-man front, get up 17-0, then come out in the three-man, and LSU kind of went down on the field and scored. Just what was the thought process to go to that, and what did you see from that point on?
Well, really, the process, obviously we know LSU has a locker room full of talent, and they can strike at any time. So the main thought was, let's go 3 down and put more guys in coverage and invite them to run it. And then obviously the very first play we had a blown coverage and got to get that fixed. But I definitely don't regret the decision. Obviously that defense has been good for us, and the 4-2-5 has also been good for us too. So just unfortunate timing.
When you guys get an interception, obviously you coach players to account for the quarterback when trying to block him. How do you guys drill that? What do you talk about? What are some of the coaching points when you're running through that type of situation?
For the most part, you always, we do a pursuit drill. One of our pursuit drills that we do all the time during August, and get an INT. You always want to block the guy who they was throwing to. He's going to be the most upset, him and the quarterback. We always tell our guys to obviously go block the quarterback because he's going to go for the interception. Blocks got to be in front and can't be low. And obviously the new rule, you can't peel back, obviously. So, we definitely work it. I mean, we go block our quarterbacks a lot when they go in and go make the plays, but it's unfortunate sometimes what happened on Saturday. I guess it was. It was flagged, so, yeah, it was.
You and Joe Morehead were at UConn for a year together. What do you know about his offenses, and what are you kind of expecting on Saturday?
Yep, I have a lot of respect for Coach Morehead. Obviously, two of my coaching years were at University of Connecticut, UConn, and I was on the offensive side of the ball, coaching running backs and special teams coordinator. Joe Morehead was the former OC, quarterbacks coach that year. A lot of respect for his brain, how he looks at football. He looks at it completely different than most. Obviously, his track record, his coaching career speaks a lot for himself. And we'll say he's a creative mind and that loves to draw plays up, and great guy, great family.
Clayton, obviously your defensive guys can get a couple of different looks against Lenoris, Robbie, and whoever else in practice. Akron likes to kind of rotate 2 quarterbacks. How do you prepare for that? And how much do they differ that you've seen on tape?
Well, I mean, they have 2 different types of quarterbacks, kind of, very similar to what we had last year with Spencer and Lenoris. Obviously, give 2 different types of styles, but I think they're both tough. They're both respected. They both can make plays with their feet and their legs. I think they understand what Coach Morehead is asking for in the offense and running it, and they do a good job of commanding the offense and being good leaders.
I think it was on Sunday when we had Coach Beamer on the teleconference, and he said there was probably more missed tackles on Saturday than what y'all have had in the past. What was your take on that? Like, was there a consistent reason why, or was it just kind of a laundry list of situations and reasons why that?
Now, the very first play, a lot of times our guys, sometimes you can overstride instead of not breaking down, but more creeping into the tackle, shimmying into the tackle, we call it. So we had a couple of those. We had overran a couple of things, and then sometimes we just didn't wrap and squeeze. So this week, obviously, we've been got back to some of the fundamentals of tackling and bringing running backs and receivers and tight ends down and quarterbacks down to the ground. But obviously, we definitely missed more tackles that game than we did the first 2.
I know not as many sacks and tackles for loss this week as the first 2. What was your overall assessment of the defensive line performance and what you saw, especially after TJ went down? You were a little bit thinner in the middle.
I thought the guys played extremely hard. I thought those guys kept fighting. The quarterback, sometimes, the hits don't really count as a stat, but our guys did a really good job of keeping them kind of in the pocket, and he made some great throws. He really did. You go back and watch it on Sunday, 4 or 5 of those throws. I mean, it was good defense, good rush, good coverage, good ball. Can't really defend everything, so you got to give them credit. And they're a better football team. They have more talent than the first 2 teams that we played, so that's really what it was.
This was the first time in his college career that Dylan Stewart didn't just completely dominate. Do you have to talk to him at all afterwards and say, hey, this is college football, or is he just not that guy?
He is that guy, but I want to make sure that it's game 3. Obviously, he had an effect on the game. Obviously, pretty sure they were prepared for him. So to me, that was enough of the effect in itself. But definitely, he's growing up week by week, and I think our coaches are doing a great job, and his teammates, and obviously it's not going to be all on me or Coach Beamer, but it's a group effort around here, and I think Dylan is definitely a guy who understands that, hey, I mean, if you get 2 sacks every game, and you break every record in the world, so it's not realistic to think like that. But I do think he had an effect on the game going into the game for sure, of just the attention that he got before the game. That was a lot in itself. But he's going to continue to work hard. He knows what he needs to get better at. We want to get him some more snaps, and we're working on that as well.
Seems like you got a lot of alpha type of personalities on your defense, and a lot of them are older guys too. What's sort of your expectation after they have to bounce back from a game like that with some of the stuff that happened during? Do you think it'll be pretty high energy throughout this week and Saturday?
Yes, based off yesterday's practice and Wednesday's practice, you can definitely feel that our guys are alphas. And trust me, it took a while. I mean, that was a heartbreaker. So it took a while as a whole team, not just defense. I mean, not offense, special teams, coaches, support staff, the nutritionists, everybody. It took us a while to get over it. So it was one of those games that lingered. But we shut it down on to first thing Monday and Tuesday and moved on. But our guys understand. That's one of those ones that, you got to make sure when we win that situation the next time that we find a way to come together and get it done.
Thank you. Seemed like in the first 2 games, you guys got a lot of pressure and sacks, just rushing 4. Is it correct in saying that you brought more pressure against LSU than you did in the first 2 games? And then with their running success, did they hit you in those open spots where pressure was coming?
Well, probably to answer the first question, probably did pressure a little bit more. The game was different. Obviously, they have a tight end that stayed in, and their O-line is better than the other 2 teams that we played. So, and our guys, it was more of an evenly match up front with 4. If they're keeping in 6 and we're rushing 4, that's not the right math that you're trying to get pressure with. And then if you blitz more than 4 or 5 or 6, now the math is not right on the back end. So you got to do a good job of finding that time to pressure. The runs that did hit them, and they kind of had us on a couple of schemes, and we had to fix it during the game. But I thought, for the most part, our guys were trying to get to the run, but they had 2 or 3 runs that kind of popped out on the backside. It was kind of disappointing, but some big plays that kind of hurt us and kind of gave them some momentum.
Demetrius Knight was in here yesterday just talking about Bengali, excuse me, Bengali Kamara, how smart he is, how kind of unique his IQ is. What's it like to coach Bengali, and what has he kind of brought to this defense through 3 weeks?
Yep. So we've been coaching him for a while, since January. What he brings just a different style of play. He's more of a slippery linebacker, that kind of a guy who can slither through traffic and not get in a car wreck and make plays. And he knows when to stop at the red light, and when it turns green, he knows when to go. He's just a really good linebacker that can sift through traffic. He also brings some third down ability, some coverage ability, some rush ability. He's a football savvy guy, so I think that's what he brings, and we all like that he had a great spring and fall camp.
I'm curious, at what point when you're watching LSU film, whether the good or the bad plays to build upon heading into this weekend, how do you take the sort of emotional aspect out of it? Because I imagine when you're repeatedly looking at that film, it's hard to not be like, ah, dang, thinking about, how something could have gone better, how it did go better in the result and things like that.
So we stopped watching it on Sunday. So throughout the year, we may have these things called cut-ups where we may use this as a learning experience from a certain play that we might have ran, and it may come up then. One of my policies in the defensive staff room is don't get mad twice, because it's nothing you can get from that. Basically, it means move on. Don't dwell, don't linger. It's been written up there since January 2021, and so that's one of them. Don't get mad twice. That don't mean you don't get upset twice, but definitely keep your emotions in check and make sure you learn from your mistakes.
Kyle was obviously on the receiving end of a couple of those penalties. How have you seen him react to that? Ever since that game, and also on the same note, he's tied for the nation's lead in sacks. Mm-hmm. What does that mean for him and the defense as a whole?
Well, the main thing is I think we just have to learn from it, and obviously respect Kyle and what he's done for this defense, this team. Obviously, obviously at the moment you want to be there for the guy, because some of us has been in his shoes, some of us have not. I knew for sure I wanted to make sure I reached out to him on Saturday or Sunday morning to make sure, the sun, God willing, the sun will rise the next day and we keep it moving. But obviously he means a lot to us. He's still a leader. We all have to learn from it. Mistakes are made. That's why they put erasers on top of pencils, you know what I mean? Because people make mistakes. So mistakes are made. We just got to learn from them. We can't continue making the same mistake.
What was the scheme that you used on this one where Bam Martin Scott comes up the middle? Kyle Kennard was he was almost on a slot receiver. He's so far outside. What is that technique called? What is that?
It was just a 6-man pressure. You know what I mean? It was just a 6-man pressure, and Bam technically had the running back and the back block, and he added in. So it's just a 6-man, 1 high pressure. Thank you guys. Take care. See you guys next time.